Think about this for a second. Since just 2020, the fortunes of the world's 5 richest men have nearly doubled. I mean, it is a staggering amount of wealth, accumulating faster than we've ever seen before. To put it in perspective, they're pulling in about $14 million every single hour. But you know what? That's only half the story. Because in that exact same time frame, almost 5 billion people on this planet got poorer. Just let that sink in. 5 individuals are gaining this astronomical wealth, while a population bigger than the entire continent of Asia is actually losing ground. This isn't just a gap, it's a chasm, and it's opening up right in front of our eyes. This isn't some accident, it's the result of a system. So that gets us to the big question we're tackling today. What does this inequality actually look like? I'm not talking about just a shocking headline or a number with a ton of zeros. I mean, as a functioning system, how does it really work? Who does it benefit? And what does it cost the rest of us? It's time to pull back the curtain. We're going to dig into the hidden system that's driving all of this. We're going to go way beyond the numbers to really understand the mechanics, the rules of the game, and the feedback loops that are wiring our world to produce these exact outcomes, day in and day out. So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the Great Divide, basically what we think wealth looks like versus the reality. Then we'll get into the engine of inequality, the actual parts that make the gap grow. We'll take a quick look back at history, understand the price we pay in real human terms, and then we'll ask the big question, can this system even be rewired? All right, let's start with the Great Divide, because honestly, a huge reason this level of inequality can even exist is that most of us just don't see it. Our idea of how wealth is spread out is completely disconnected from the truth. What we think our society looks like and what it actually looks like, well, they're two very different pictures. Okay, so when researchers asked people to guess how wealth is distributed, this is basically the picture they painted. It's a society where the top 20% own about 60% of the wealth. Now, that's still unequal, for sure, but look closely. The middle class and the poor, they still have a visible, meaningful slice of the pie. In this world, everyone's at least in the game, even if their shares are different sizes. Now, here's reality. The top 20% actually own closer to 90% of the country's wealth. And the part that's just mind-blowing? Look at the bottom 40% of people. Their slice of the pie is so small, it's basically invisible. They own almost nothing. This isn't just a small miscalculation. It's a totally different kind of society than the one we think we're living in. That's the disconnect. To make this even clearer, just imagine the whole world is a room of 100 people. The poorest 70 people, that's most of the room, are all crammed into a corner and they have to share just 3% of the wealth. The next 21 people, kind of the global middle class, have a bit more space with about 12%. The next 8 are doing really well, controlling 38%. And then there's the last person. That one single person controls 47% of all the wealth, almost as much as everybody else combined. So how in the world did we get here? This kind of outcome doesn't just happen. It's produced by this powerful engine, one that's just humming along quietly in the background of our economy. So let's pop the hood and look at the parts that are making this gap wider every single day. At the very heart of it all is a really important difference in how money is made. Most of us, right, we earn labor income. We trade our time and our skills for a paycheck. But that's limited. There are only so many hours in a day. The very wealthy, though, they rely on capital income. That's money you earn from owning things, stocks, real estate, businesses. And unlike your time, there's no limit to how much capital you can own. The entire system is built to reward owning things way more than it rewards working. This whole idea is captured in this simple but super powerful formula, R greater than G. It just means that the rate of return on capital, that's R, is consistently bigger than the rate of economic growth, that's G. So think of it like this. G is the whole economic pie getting bigger. It's the growth that everyone who works for a living gets to share. But R is the rate at which existing wealth grows all by itself. When R is bigger than G, it means that money is making money faster than the rest of the economy is growing. Wealth isn't just growing, it's concentrating at the top. This isn't a glitch, it's how the system is designed to work. And then you've got compounding. It's like a silent turbocharger for wealth. It's that magic of your money making more money, which then makes even more money. But here's the catch. While the math works for everyone, its effect is totally unequal. To really make it work for you, you need 3 things that a lot of people just don't have. Extra money to invest in the first place, a long time for it to grow, and the financial stability so you never have to pull it out for an emergency. It's a powerful tool that's really only available to people who are already wealthy. And finally, there's this practice called rent seeking. This has nothing to do with creating new things or innovating. It's all about finding clever ways to increase your share of the wealth that's already out there. So instead of baking a bigger economic pie for everyone, you're just rigging the rules so you get a bigger slice for yourself. A classic example is a drug company lobbying to extend a patent on a medicine, not because they made it better, but just so they can keep prices high and block anyone else from making it. That's not creating value, that's just extracting it. Now, what's so fascinating is that this extreme level of inequality, it isn't some permanent fact of life. It's actually a pretty recent thing, and it's the result of specific choices that we've made as a society. This wasn't an accident, it was a design. If you look at this timeline, you can see a really clear story. You have the Gilded Age in the late 1800s with sky-high inequality, a lot like today. But then something amazing happened. We entered a period called the Great Compression for about 30 years after World War II, where inequality just plummeted as the middle class boomed. And then, starting around the 1980s, that trend completely reversed into the Great Divergence, and inequality started shooting right back up to the crazy levels we see today. So what was going on in that period when things were getting more equal? Well, two big policies really stand out. First, there was a high inheritance tax, up to 77% on the biggest fortunes, which stopped these permanent dynasties from forming and recycled that wealth back into society. And second, unions were strong, which gave workers the power to bargain for a fair share of the profits they were helping to create. These weren't flukes, they were deliberate choices that built a more equal society. This all kind of busts a popular myth, right? The whole rags to rags in 3 generations idea. We love that story, but the data just doesn't back it up. There was this incredible study in Florence, Italy, that found that the wealthiest families from 600 years ago are still the wealthiest families there today. Dynastic wealth is way stickier than we think, especially when the rules are written to protect it. Okay, so this isn't just some abstract economic debate. This system has real, profound consequences for our everyday lives, for our mental health, and even for the basic way our democracy functions. So let's talk about the price we all pay for this. This quote, it just perfectly captures the psychological weight of being financially insecure. When your monthly budget is a constant tightrope act between buying groceries and paying the rent, it doesn't really feel like living. It feels like just surviving. It creates this constant, low-level anxiety, that feeling that no matter how hard you work, you're always just one car repair or one medical bill away from complete disaster. And this economic power, it translates directly into political power. A huge study out of Princeton looked at decades of U.S. policy, and what they found was pretty shocking. As you can see here, when economic elites wanted something to happen, they got it the vast majority of the time. But what about the policies that average citizens wanted? Yeah, their success rate was way, way lower. The data basically shows that the preferences of the wealthy almost always win. And all of this leads to a really tough but crucial conclusion. The system isn't broken. It's not producing these outcomes by mistake. It is in fact working exactly as it's designed to work right now, to funnel wealth and power to the top. The frustration and the inequality we see, they aren't bugs in the system, they're features. And this has deadly real-world consequences. Just look at the Texas power crisis in 2022. Gas companies gave millions in donations to state regulators. Those same regulators then exempted the companies from rules that would have required them to winterize their equipment. So when a massive cold snap hit, the grid completely failed. Millions of people lost power in freezing temperatures. Over 200 people died. And the result for those companies who saved money by skipping safety rules, they booked record profits from the chaos. One CEO even said on an earnings call that it was like hitting the jackpot. This is the system working exactly as designed. I know, this can all feel pretty heavy, but here's the most powerful truth of all. This system was built by human choices, and that means it can be changed by human choices. This isn't a law of nature like gravity. The choices we made got us here, which means different choices can get us somewhere else. So what can we do? Well, it starts with rethinking how we tax massive wealth and inheritances. It means paying way more attention to those down-ballot elections, the local races that decide who regulates these industries. It means supporting independent journalism that actually has the resources to investigate this stuff. And maybe most importantly, on a personal level, it means we have to stop blaming ourselves. When you feel like you're losing a rigged game, it doesn't mean you're a bad player. It means the game itself is rigged. The very first, most critical step is just to see the system clearly for what it is and how it works. And now that you've seen the mechanics behind the curtain, the next choice is up to us. The system was built by human choices. The only question left is, what choices will we make now?